Well, good evening and welcome to the November meeting of the Euterpe Club and our concert here tonight. We're so glad to have you each here for the Joe and Joe show. But before we talk about the Joe and Joe show, let me tell you what's happening a month from now. On December 2nd, we will be having the annual holiday concert prepared by Euterpe Women's Chorus, and that is being held at St. Paul's Episcopal Church on 2nd Street. So, exciting. We have Joe, but where is the other Joe? He has been unavoidably absent tonight. But the good news is he actually isn't performing. What is being done on the program tonight are his compositions. So he's a composer in absentia tonight. So we appreciate Joe Greene and his compositions that we get to hear. So if you want to know what he looks like, look on the back of your program. There's a picture. That's a pretty accurate picture. But we do get to see Joseph Rincon in the flesh, and he will be playing the piano. And so we've got a lot of different people who are coming tonight who will be performing the pieces that Joseph Greene composed. So I think you will enjoy those as well, a nice variety. But we're going to start out the program with the piano stylings of Joseph Rincon. So welcome him.
Tonight, as she said, my name is Joe Rincon. Of course, if you look on the back of the thing, you might notice that I am a business major, and so they may raise the question in your mind, well, why on earth would they let a business major have a concert. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm here, so you're going to get some music tonight. But in all seriousness, I do love music. It's always been a big part of my life. And music is a gift, and I'm excited to share that gift with you tonight. The song that I just played was a piece by Francis Poulenc entitled Novelette. It was actually one of 3 novelettes, and he based all of those works actually on a ballet by Manuel de Falla. And the ballet was titled El Amor Brujo. And basically an idea of what that ballet was all about. It's about a man who passed away, and then he comes back to haunt his wife because he's jealous that she now loves another man. So it's kind of a little creepy. If you want to, you can go do more research on that. But that kind of gives you a bit of an idea as to why the piece ended a little bit more mysteriously. And this next piece that I'm going to play for you is actually quite a stark contrast from that first piece, titled Who is on the Lord's Side? And this is a very well-known hymn arranged by Dan Forrest. And the arrangement, he does the hymn justice, because it is very, right from the get-go, you can tell it's very militaristic, and it really helps paint the picture of what the hymn is all about, right? It's talking about who is on the Lord's side, who will fight for their king, right? And just throughout the whole piece, he does an excellent job of portraying it, right? And it really helps challenge me, and I've loved working on this song because it helps me think about the truth about who is on the Lord's side. Will I choose to give my life for my king and serve my king faithfully? So I hope you enjoyed this piece titled Who is on the Lord's Side?
verses by Joseph Greene on his behalf. And what's coming up now is his setting of the hymn tune, Jesus Calls Us. The hymn, not the hymn tune, but the hymn text. The text was written in 1852 by Cecil F. Alexander. I must admit, every time I saw that in the hymnal, I thought it was Cecil. But I learned that it is actually a woman, Cecile. She was a pastor's wife in Ireland at the time, and she and her husband were discussing over dinner Matthew 4 about how Jesus said, "Come follow me," to Andrew and Simon Peter. And they came. They dropped their nets and they changed their careers, just like that. And the question that came to her, would I be so willing to come and leave all when Jesus calls me? And so that night, she was already a pretty accomplished poet, and she penned the words to this song, which her husband read the next night, I think after the sermon at church. And it got published, and it was quite a few years later before it was actually set to a hymn tune. So you might find it in with different tunes in different places. But I think you will agree with me that the composing pen of Joseph Greene did justice to this wonderful text as he wrote it for SAT, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, could be sung by a choir or a small group. And tonight, 4 students from Maranatha Baptist Academy will be singing Joseph Greene's arrangement, his composition, such as those words, Jesus Calls Us.
Jesus calls us toward the two poles of our lives, what restless sea. Day by day.
doesn't mean you know everything I'm going to share with you right now, but I found some interesting things that I didn't know. The words were written by John Newton, and he had a pretty rough life growing up. He was born July 24th, 1725. At the age of 6, his mother passed away. That's a rough beginning to things. I found he was always kind of balking authority in his life. He was in the Royal Navy and tried to desert in his 20s. So he was kind of a tough guy. And I guess he was so tough that he was abandoned by his crew in West Africa, and then he was forced to be a servant to a slave trader, but he was eventually rescued from that awful position. And on the return trip to England, a terrible storm hit, and in that environment, he cried out to God, and all but one of the whole ship, the crew, were saved. Now you would think, oh, that must have been the turning point. No, it was not. Maybe a seed was planted. He had me thinking in the back of his mind, I prayed to God and he answered my prayer. I guess maybe there is a God, but for the next 6 years, he became a master of a slave ship of his own, and bringing slaves back and forth from Africa to England. And over multiple trips, he admitted treating some of those slaves rather horrendously, and he was not a nice person. But the Lord used a different kind of storm. He lived on the sea. In 1754, he became violently ill on one of the sea voyages. Of course, he was used to being on the sea, and I don't know exactly what that illness was, but that was what turned his heart toward God. And I think after that point, he wholeheartedly committed himself to his life and service for the Lord. And I can't help thinking that the hour I first believed, that was it. That was the hour he first believed. A number of years later, he started studying theology. He became an ordained minister, popular preacher, and a hymn writer. He wrote some 280 hymns. I need to find a book with those in it. I don't know enough songs by this fine man. And of course, among them was Amazing Grace. And even it wasn't set to the tune we know it by until after his death. It was set in 1835 by William Walker. And an interesting thing, maybe you are familiar with the act in England, the parliamentary campaign to abolish African slave trade with William Wilberforce. And he committed himself to being part of that campaign to abolish slavery. And ultimately, the Slave Trade Act of 1807 was passed, and thanks to Wilberforce, but also to John Newton, which ultimately freed this, I double checked the number, 800,000 slaves, not only in England, but in all of the colonies of England. And the last words recorded as him saying this at his death at age 82 in 1807, which was right after that act, the Slave Trade Act passed, he said, "My memory is nearly gone, but I remember two things, that I am a great sinner and that Christ is a great Savior." Megan Priggy is going to play Joseph Greene's arrangement, a simple, passionate, thought-provoking arrangement of Amazing Grace.
22, which talks about a river that flows from the throne of God. And throughout the whole song, the songwriter asks the question, shall we gather at the river? Will you gather at the river? And the ending, the chorus, is a resounding, yes, we shall gather by the river. If you're a believer, if you believe on Christ, and have accepted him as your Savior, we can gather at that river. This next song that I'm going to play is Beethoven's Sonata number 14 in C sharp minor. And some of you may better well know it by the name Moonlight Sonata, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. And it got that name from the first movement, which has a very flowing motif. And you don't have to worry, I'm not going to sing it for you. But that's where it got its name from. And however, I will be playing the third movement. And the picture that comes to mind when you hear the third movement is definitely not moonlight. The picture that comes to my mind is more like a cat on fire. That's the picture that typically comes to mind. It's very, very aggressive piece, and it's very fast-moving, and it's by far the most difficult piece that I've ever undertaken as a pianist. But I'm very thankful for how it's helped grow me, and the wonderful thing about pieces like this is you can work on it for your whole life and still have more to work on. But I love playing this piece, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well, as I play the third movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata.
Latin for meaning I want you or miss you. Joseph Greene wrote this song in honor of his friends, Matthew and Katie Holloway, who got married this past June 2024. And he wrote this beautiful string quartet with French horn in honor of them, and it was played at their wedding. You could hear in the piece the dynamic between the pain of missing a loved one and then the joy of being with them. Te desidero.
This final piece for you tonight is the very well-known hymn, "This Is My Father's World." And this has always been a favorite hymn of mine, speaking to how God has revealed himself to us through creation, right? I mean, you look at the world, you look at nature, you look at the universe, and it all points back to a creator. It all points to intelligent, intentional design. And that's what this hymn speaks about. It speaks about, this is my Father's world, the world that he created. And I'm so thankful that the Lord has chosen to reveal himself to us through creation, but not just through creation. He chose to reveal himself to us through his word and through sending his Son Christ to this earth. And we are truly amazed to have, and truly blessed to have such a great God. So I trust that you enjoyed this evening, and I speak for all the other musicians where we say that we really enjoyed playing this music for you. And so now I'll play "This Is My Father's World."